Hey gang, Drex here from DrexFactory.com, and I'm returning for the second video in my series about the best settings for capturing flow arts videos with your camera. In the last video, we talked about frame rate and shutter speed, two very important settings that have a huge effect on the outcome of your video. Today, we're going to dive into aperture and ISO settings. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Darkmonk, Emazing Lights, Flow Toys, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can visit them all on the web by following the links down in the description of this video. Aperture and ISO have some similarities in that they have a lot to do with how much light your camera collects in the course of shooting, but they go about it in very different ways. Now, do me a favor real quick and pull out your smartphone, put it in selfie mode, and go to the nearest open window and take a close photo of your eyes in the sunlight. Now, go someplace darker indoors, maybe a hallway or the stall in a restroom, and take another photograph of your eyes. You should notice a difference between the two. In the sunlight, your irises contract to make your pupil very small, whereas in low light, your irises expand to make your pupils bigger. This is because your irises are adjusting to the amount of ambient light around you. Smaller pupils for more light, and bigger pupils for less. There's a small mechanism inside your camera's lens that has the capacity to grow and shrink the same way your irises do. It's called the aperture. Aperture is usually notated with what are called f-stops. You'll see a notation that will have an F followed by a backslash and then a number. The higher that number, the smaller the hole the light is getting through before it gets to the sensor in your camera, and thus the less light exposure it gets. The lower the number, the bigger the hole is, and thus more light gets through to the sensor. But it turns out aperture has another property aside from just controlling how much light comes in. It also has an effect on what's called depth of field. Put simply, depth of field is the camera's capacity to see everything in front of it in focus. Ever see a shot in a movie where something far away starts off in focus and then focus shifts to something nearby, or vice versa? This is accomplished with a shallow depth of field. The smaller the f-stop, that is, the bigger the hole, the more shallow the depth of field. When you go for higher f-stops, that is, when you use a smaller hole, you'll find that most everything in your frame is all more or less in the same degree of focus. If you get a clear picture of something that's nearby, it's almost certain you'll get a clear picture of something far away as well. You can use this to your advantage if you want to have a flow video where the background is blurry, but the artists themselves are in focus closer up in the frame. So now that leaves ISO. ISO is the camera's sensitivity to light. That is, how much it is boosting the light signal once it arrives at the internal sensor. It actually stands for International Standards Organization. Because reasons. When you shoot with a low ISO, there's very little boost to this signal. What you'll see as a result is an image where all the surfaces seem very flat and clean, and colors are all pushed together to seem more or less uniform. When you shoot with a high ISO, the camera electronics are boosting the signal of the light being collected on the sensor. You'll see textures begin to emerge and colors become much more distinct with a high level of contrast. If you keep boosting the ISO, it's also very likely you'll start to see the signal boosting so much that pixelated noise begins to emerge in the picture, with very small grains of colors appearing like dust. Aperture and ISO are the biggest tools you have for controlling the brightness of the images you're collecting in your video, but they're also linked very closely to your frame rate and shutter speed. So remember how in the last video I said that shutter speed governed how long the camera collected light for each of the frames it shoots? Well, it also turns out that the shorter the time your camera is collecting light, the darker the picture it gets. So if you're shooting at a high shutter speed, you're either going to have to shoot with a lower aperture, that is, a bigger hole, or a higher ISO, or both. In general, when I shoot, I like to set two priorities for the resulting footage to govern how I adjust these settings. So let's say for the sake of argument that I want to have a static shot where I'm spinning LED poi to get trails and shooting the background is completely unimportant to me. I would probably want to shoot at 30 FPS and a shutter speed of 1/30th of a second. Because I want to collect as much light as possible and I don't care about the background, I can shoot with a low aperture f-stop of 3.5 and then set my ISO as low as I want to ensure as clean an image as I can. Or let's say that I want to take some slow-mo handheld shots of myself spinning during daylight to later stabilize, and that I want bold contrasts. I'd probably want to shoot at about 60 FPS with a shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second. Because I want those bold contrasts, I'm going to boost my ISO all the way up to 6400, but not much higher in order to avoid excess noise in my footage. From here, I'll set my aperture wherever I need it to get a good picture. It might be low enough that my depth of field makes the background kind of blurry, and that's okay. Or how about I want to record a flow video in front of an incredibly cool monument or piece of public art that I come across in my travels? Well, the focus here is going to be on the cleanliness of the picture and depth of field, so I'll just go ahead and shoot at 30 FPS with a shutter speed of 1/60th of a second. Stock and easy. I'm going to shoot at any f-stop above f10 or f15 to get that nice depth of field and keep my ISO as low as I can. Cool, so I hope this helps out some of you with your own videos. It can take a bit of experimentation to get to a point where you feel comfortable with your camera, so be sure to try out a lot of different things. If you want to take a look at some other tips for how you can do camera settings, look up other YouTube tutorials for how to shoot sports, because that's really what we're talking about here. Got some projects you want to work on? Shoot me the details and priorities in the comments, and I'll see if I can help you find the settings that'll work best for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you got anything out of this video, please hit that like and subscribe button to help my channel grow. Special thanks to all of my awesome supporters on Patreon. You guys are the ones that make these videos possible. If you're not a current backer, but you'd like to sign up to support the work that I do, please go to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi. Thanks again, and peace.